Let's jump right into the interview because this is, as I was telling you before the show, is something that I have been wanting to talk about on this show. Like, really, one of the first things that we talked about when we decided we wanted to do a show. I sat down with Megan Bonner, my incredible co-host, when we first got started. We made a list of like 30 people that we were hoping to find someday. By the way, if you are watching this and you are a former pageant contestant or a Hooters waitress, I'm still eager to hear your story. So please write in because I would love to do that episode. But on that list was a professional cuddler. And so I'm super excited to learn a little bit more about this practice and what it may have to offer to our audience. So, Sundeep, I'm going to let you take it away. What the hell is a professional cuddler? I mean, what kind of services do you offer?
Yeah, so professional cuddler is someone who has gone and done some training around how to offer touch as a means of therapy. I
Mm,
mean, touch means cuddling, holding people, and typically this training will involve things like establishing boundaries, maintaining boundaries, communicating them, uh, training around consent, all of those kinds of things that you'd want to know if you are going to be doing this and offering this kind of touch with that. So I do sessions. I work with people one on one. That's not my primary business, though. I do events called Cuddle Party, which is a
hmm.
different training, and these are sort of group events. They're essentially like group cuddle events, but in some sense, they're a group therapy event. So and people come and we start with a workshop where we go through this whole idea of we work on how to say no. We practice how to say yes. We go through the having boundaries. We go through the process of asking what it is that you want. We kind of practice all of those things, and that's kind of the workshop part of it. We go over the idea what the rules are for the event. It's not this is cuddling where you're actually holding people, but there is no sexual charge associated with it. These are platonic, fully clothed sessions, and cuddle parties also the same way. Uh, and I offer those two things, and mostly I offer cuddle party events. I try to do one every month. It has been difficult in the pandemic. I've not been able
Sure.
to do one every month, but I've almost uh, put some events on the calendar, and I had to cancel them simply because, well, we went back to
Yeah,
stage
no
five
doubt.
again. So I don't know if I'll be able to do one soon, but I was not able to do one, for example, in the month of September.
Hmm. Yeah, well, as important as physical touch is, and as much as modern neuroscience seems to be beginning to understand the significance and the importance of touch, as a sex therapist, I'm just excited to hear that there are trained professionals that are talking about boundary communication and talking about consent and all of these things when it comes to our physical touch. What can you teach the audience tonight about the importance of touch, or perhaps how to better experience touch with their partner or with their friend?
Yeah, so this is important. Of course, touch is a basic need. I mean, we all need touch. We sort of know this. I mean, we're born with a sense of touch, and uh, if we are not touched as children, we don't thrive. We kind of known this stuff in various studies. One particular study that was done in from in the Romanian orphanages. Exactly this, they were understaffed, and they just didn't have the people to give love, care, and touch to the children, and those children didn't fare so well. Uh, the so we may need touch at different and in different magnitudes of touch. Everybody's needs are different. but touch itself is an essential thing. So if you have a partner or a friend, I think the thing to do is to communicate what it is that their needs are. We have kind of built ourselves a society where after a certain age, all touch is considered sexual, and we sort of associated sex with touch. And does it have to be that? So you can talk to a partner, does touch have to end that way, right? What does touch mean? Can touch be something that they, can be just a means in itself? So you can kind of have those conversations. How much touch does your partner need? What kind of touch do they enjoy? Do they like to have their hair played with? Or you can experiment and try different forms of touch on your partner and see, what is pleasant. Um, uh, Knowing that it doesn't necessarily have to end up in a sexual place, right? What feels good, and so you can have those conversations, and you can uh, discuss what it is that your partner wants. What, and sometimes your needs may be different around touch, and you may at that point have to say, okay, well, eh, I need more touch than you enjoy having, and is there a way uh, we can we can have we can have what we both need. It's a relationship. So having those conversations is, I think, one of the main things to actually start enjoying it. And I would say also incorporating it in your daily life is kind of do this. We it could be just holding hands, sitting together, watching TV. It could be the occasional hug, brushing by, or it could just be kind of the cuddling, the playing with somebody's hair, or uh, giving somebody a massage or whatever. While you're sitting down and doing other things. So that's a conversation that I will encourage any partners to have.
Yeah, I have to say, perhaps the most maybe rebellious is even the term. The most powerful thing about the idea of a cuddle party in a nation like America is just the concept that touch doesn't necessarily need to be sexual or doesn't necessarily even need to be intimate to still be appropriate and to still be significant. I mean, there's something like really transgressive about that idea in our culture, and it's definitely something I'm fascinated by. Uh, who is your ideal client? What type of person is coming to a cuddle party or is reaching out for like an individual session?
Okay, so an ideal client uh, is obviously someone who has researched what they want. They said, okay, this is a touch that's missing in my life. This is what I want. I just want to be held in a certain way, right? And I don't want, I I I miss this touch. I used to be held this way, and I don't have that, and I need that right now. So the ideal client will come with a definite idea of what they want, what kind of touch they need, and ask for it, right? But being able to ask for it is kind of what makes it ideal. Say, I need this. I really need my head massaged or my scalp massaged a little bit. Can you do that for me? Uh, right. So there is the client comes empowered with that thing that I can ask for that. Now, not everybody is comfortable with touch at the same level, right? And so when somebody comes to me for a session, I accept everybody. I mean, I accept men, I accept women, obviously, all ages, adults and up. But so I don't, so mm, some people can come and say, look, I don't know what I need, but I know that I don't enjoy being touched.
Mm.
Or some people can say, I don't know if this has anything for me here, but I want to be able to enjoy touch more because it affects my social interactions when I go somewhere, and I feel triggered around this whole idea of touch. So at that point, they that client, you know, is the job of the couple therapist is to transform that into the ideal client, right?
Mm.
You work with um, somebody saying my camera is off, and I don't know what to do about that. But so you transform. I mean, how do you do that? Well, you start slowly and say, okay, well, you don't like touch, but how about if we hold hands? How does that feel? Right? And you go through this process of trying different forms and different levels of touch, different types of touch, and do a somatic exploration or guide someone through that. How does that feel within your body? Where are you feeling this? What 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 issues is that triggering for you? Is there some, and you kind of work through that until, say, the client is more comfortable in this kind of touch. They maybe somebody has social anxiety, social phobia. They don't, they're not comfortable with asking for what they need,
Hmm.
or they are not comfortable with saying, no, I don't want to be touched this way. No. So somebody might come to a cuddle session and get a chance to work on those boundaries. Say, look, this is what I need. This is what I want. I am a yes to this. I am a no to this, and they get to work on it. And we work on these things in Cuddle Party. Uh, we work on these things obviously in individual sessions, individual level, but we certainly do work on them in Cuddle Party. We actually practice them, and we practice the process of asking for the touch we need, and we practice saying yes, we practice saying no, practice changing our mind. So we actually practice building good boundaries in communication, which provides a framework to enjoy healthy touch.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's pretty
empowering
cool. You
people
kind of
through
like,
boundary communication. Yeah, Nate.
yeah. Sorry, Christy. I was just that's kind of neat how you ease them into that and sort of dip their toes in the water. And for me, I can certainly identify with that because I would definitely need quite a bit of dipping my toe into the cuddle water before could feel comfortable at a cuddle party. But I wanted to interject here with a quick question of my own, because I was reading. Okay, I'll admit it. I was reading Christie's research, which was excellent for leading up to this show,
And
and
available in the show notes.
yeah, links in the show notes, folks. But when it comes to the non-sexual nature of the cuddle parties that you do and the connection that most of us have with touch and arousal, how I wanted to ask you, like, how often does that come up in the party? I mean, it must come up sometimes, like someone gets turned on. Does that happen as often as folks might think? And if and when it does, how do you deal with it? What do you do about it?
Right? We actually talk about it, and
Okay.
liking people, arousal, these feelings are natural. We welcome them. There is no shame associated with any sort of response that's sexual, but we do ask that we don't act on those things, right? Uh, the clothes stay on. Everything is not sexual. So what does that mean? Well, if you feel that you're being aroused, well, you can
Mhm.
ask to shift positions. You can ask for a different kind of touch. Um, so there are a number of ways to do that, but it's important that we don't associate any shame with these things because they are natural things that happen, and that it is part of touch. We are sexual beings, and we are going to have feelings like that. So
Hmm.
and but there are lots of the I mean, I tell people the story about what happened to me going to a cuddle party.
Oh, good. I can't wait.
Right, for the first time and discover, and I sort of shared this.
Okay.
I had quite a bit of social phobia. I also, it had received a fair bit of unwanted touch
Mhm.
in sort of earlier on in life. Uh, and so for me, that was a big trigger. If a man would come and touch me, it suddenly took me to a place where, oh, geez, that touch was not appropriate when it was touched by a man. That point, and so it sort of had this place where I just had this real weirdness about somebody. So if somebody said they were gay, I just had this sort of weird reaction about, oh, geez, I know what happened to me, and I didn't ever go to cuddle party to try to fix that necessarily, but
Hmm.
I went there and the man said, "Would you like a hug?" I'm like, yeah, this is a safe place. We've talked about this. We talked about the boundaries. There's no sexual anything here. Let me try this. Why am I feeling so weird about this? I want to try this. I want to try giving this man a hug and sharing that, right? And it was weird at the beginning, but then it wasn't so weird after a while. It wasn't, and now it's something that I would regularly do, and I realized, geez, you know, all this time in my life just because of something that happened in childhood, because I've been carrying just this entire uh, atmosphere of just making so essentially an irrational judgment, and I didn't need to
Hmm.
have that. I didn't need to have that all my life going through. And so I credit Cuddle Party with one of the places
Wow.
where I think I recognized that, and it was it was something that I didn't necessarily go to Cuddle Party to say, "Hey, fix
Right. I gotcha.
fix my
Yeah.
fear,
Well,
fix my
it's
fear
a
of
simple enough thing.
homosexuality." It happened, right? But that's exactly what happened, and I said,
Wow.
I need to learn how to do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a simple enough thing, and I think that the temptation in our culture is to intellectualize it and be like, "Well, how powerful can one hug really be? Like, what could this really do? What's going to happen here that I haven't already experienced 1,000 times?" But I can't stress enough the significance of actually going through the motions, of actually being touched in a safe environment and being able to kind of retrain your body that this is okay, that this is safe,
Mhm,
that this is not
Hmm.
something that you need to be triggered by. Certainly, I'm sure that y'all are very sensitive to people's traumas and concerns in that way.
mhm.
I mean, what kind of extreme reactions do people sometimes have in these situations?
Uh, so well, so I haven't. So it doesn't usually the Cuddle Party we make it a big effort to make it a very safe container, and so people may have extreme reactions. Uh, that can happen, but one of the things we make very clear right in the beginning, uh, when we do this welcome circle, what we call the welcome circle, is you do not have to touch anybody at all. You don't have to do anything at a cuddle party. You can sit there in the corner and watch if that's all you want to do, right? And so there is that component of safety. So if somebody feels that they get triggered and they just need space to work through their emotions, nobody is going to make pass any judgment on somebody who decides to say, I want to sit in that corner and I just need to process what's going
Mhm.
on with me. We allow people uh, that opportunity, and then they can go have some snacks or do whatever. They don't have to necessarily be participating. Just because you're at a cuddle party doesn't mean you participate in the cuddling. And sometimes, you know saying no is a very powerful thing to
Mhm.
learn as well. I myself haven't done it, but I've heard of stories where somebody went to a cuddle party and they said no to every request they got. Would you like a hug? No. Would you like this? No. And the thing was, I'm just going to say no to everything because I want to feel empowered to be able to say, no, I don't want that.
Yeah, that's another thing that I
Yeah.
can't stress enough the value of actually going through the motions, because it seems intellectually like it's so easy to just say no, but to actually do the thing is
Mhm.
incredibly empowering.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, that's kind of like the whole basis of cognitive behavioral therapy, right? Is you kind of fake it till you make it, right? You go through the motions and you do it, and then it gets ingrained in your head and you feel
And you have
better.
to do the behavioral, right?
Yeah,
Like
like you
that's
actually have to
part of
do
it.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's so easy
Wow.
to talk ourselves out of that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
I'm curious though. Like, I'm sorry, I keep
no,
interrupting
no, no,
Christie's
go ahead.
interview with my questions, but
Sure.
like how many people are in this group? Is it usually like one-on-one huggers? Is it everybody sort of sitting together in pajamas with like a big group hug? Like, how does that take shape? I
We
want to know more
do,
about that.
right. So we do group hugs, we do things like that, but a lot of people can actually cuddle one on one. You go to someone and you say, hey, I would like to explore this touch with you. Would you like that? So a lot of people, most of the time, the cuddling is one on one. Sometimes two or three people might just kind of cuddle in a pile.
Right.
That's also people
Huh.
there are cases where people just kind of lie down next to each other, and it's what in some ways whatever you want to do, um, you know, within the boundaries of the cuddle party container, which is that
Hmm.
you have to keep it non-sexual, and you have to ask permission before you touch someone, and uh, and then we go through a lot of rules about just taking care of yourself. If if you don't want to be in a cuddle situation, you can change your mind at any time and say, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to stop this and go and try something else. So we allow people, we go through all of that uh, process of what somebody, how somebody communicates what their needs are um, right in the beginning.
Do you have
Cool.
experiences of people pushing back against some of those boundaries around consent or non-sexuality or these kinds of things?
I've heard that it happens. I have never had a situation where I have had to I've had to talk to somebody at a cuddle party about being inappropriate or ask them to leave or any of those things. That has not happened. Uh, they People show up. I mean, they sign up for this event. Uh, they usually kind of their name is out there. It's not like, I mean, they usually come, they come with good intentions. They come
Right.
because they actually want an experience where they can uh, be cuddled, be held, get their touch needs met, uh, and it's something. It's actually a good place. I tell people, it's also a good place to come and meet people. It's way better than speed dating. You get much more time with someone if you want to do that. I mean, if that's what you want to do.
Fair to say.
It's a
Yeah.
good point. Good point.
What does training or certification or oversight look like for professional cuddlers?
Okay, so there is. So I can talk about. I guess I can talk about Cuddle Party. If we talk about Cuddle Party, that is a national kind of movement. It's a brand. It's an
So that's
organization.
a specific
That
organization,
that's a.
Cuddle Party.
It's an organization, Cuddle Party, and they train people to facilitate Cuddle Party events. The training typically for that, I had to do like a workshop that was about 3 days. It was in person, and it was intensive. It was really general and about how to facilitate groups. right? And any kind of group, not necessarily Cuddle Party. And after that, you go through about a 6-month process, maybe a year. I took my time doing it, but where you have weekly calls with a mentor, and they will guide you through actually organizing, putting up, and facilitating a number of review parties, what they call. And these review parties, they are just like a cuddle party, anything else, except that at the end you ask the participants to fill out a feedback form, and that feedback form goes directly to the cuddle party certifying board. That it becomes part of your certification requirements. So they look at those things and they give you feedback saying, okay, this was good. You had enough people, and these were the comments that we got. So, um, so it's a fairly uniform thing, and it's a fairly strict thing that they go through. And this is simply because if you go to any place that's called a Cuddle Party, any event that uses the Cuddle Party name, it
Mhm.
will have a similar format. We all have the same sort of container of safety right in the beginning, so people kind of know what they're getting. So that's a good thing. Now, for someone who wants to be a professional cuddler, there's no regulation in this industry. I could sort of hang a shingle and say I'm a professional cuddler
Sure.
without any training. And there are lots of people possibly doing this. There are organizations that actually go through uh, actually training, offering training for people who want to do this work. There are a few reputable organizations, and then there are, there are several of them. But I think if you want to find somebody who's a one-on-one cuddler, you want to ask them what their experience is, where they got trained, who trained them. A good training will involve communication. It would involve boundaries. It would teach on how to establish boundaries, maintain them, and also how to communicate those boundaries. It will be some, though it'll certainly have training around consent as to how you want to make sure that you ask for permission before you give or receive any touch, and that permission is asked for you, and that you communicate that. There will be training. There'll be some training around trauma, and at least some basic understanding of trauma. We're not trauma therapists anyway, but you need to understand that what I'm dealing with is a situation where now somebody needs to go see a specialist, like a trauma therapist or someone else, right? So, and we need to understand, the idea that touch can just you can't just do any kind of touch. For some people, something can be triggering,
Mm.
and so you have to be careful how you approach that. And so there will be any training will have training around a little bit around understanding what that trauma response is. Typically, they'll go through other forms of training, like how to do what kind of what would a session protocol look like, something like that. There will be some discussion about diversity, inclusion, uh, those kinds of things. There might be some training around marketing and things like that, but for the most part, those are sort of the components of training. I got training through an organization called Cuddlist. It's certainly not the only one, but I can say if somebody wants to get training, that's a reputable place. But there are certainly others.
Cuddlist?
Cuddlist,
Okay.
cuddlist.com. Yeah.
Okay.